County Public Library in scenic Georgetown, Kentucky. And today, Bookends is going to take you on a traveling vacation. I like to call this armchair traveling because you can go anywhere in a book. Even if you're still reluctant to travel due to the COVID virus, you can still travel anywhere in the world, or even in the universe, as we saw last month, with a book. So we've got lots of different places to visit. Our first stop is going to be Paris, France, where we have Perestroika in Paris by James Smiley. And this really lighthearted book follows the adventures of a horse whose nickname is Paris, her full name is Perestroika, where she becomes very adventurous when her stall door at the racetrack is left open, and she decides she's going to go see the sights. And she happens to be in Paris, France at the time at a racetrack, so she wanders the streets of Paris. And she meets other animals that help her along the way, a dog named Frida, and a raven, and a couple of ducks. And she eventually meets a little boy who kind of takes the horse under his wing or arm. And she makes friends with lots of different animals and people and does the sights in Paris. And one of the funniest parts in this book is when the owner and trainer of the horse are looking for her, and they can't seem to find her anywhere. So they consult a psychic, and the psychic tells them that the horse has gone sightseeing in Paris and is looking in the shop windows. And they of course think that there's no possible way that a horse would be sightseeing. And so they completely discount the information, and they miss out on finding the horse. But it all has a wonderful ending, and I highly recommend this book, especially to anyone that wants to meet the shopkeepers and people that populate Paris, and see the parks and the beauty that is there, and the love that can occur between animals and people. So I highly recommend this book, Perestroika in Paris by James Smiley. And next, we're going to go to South Asia, to lots of different places that are covered by this book. It's a very complex novel called The Storm, and it's by Arif Anwar. It covers a lot of ground in a lot of different places in South Asia that through the time periods covered in this novel, and it jumps around in time a lot too, were called various things depending on what year or decade it was. But it is about a PhD graduate who has been living in the United States while he earned his degree, and he's had a daughter while he's been staying in the United States. And his visa has expired, and he finds that he has to go back to Bangladesh. So the novel is about how he feels about being separated from his daughter in this way, and then it jumps to various ancestors and other people that are involved in the story, and how they have had their lives uprooted and families torn apart and coming back together in various ways. So the storm in question was an historical event that happened in Bangladesh and the surrounding area, which was called the Bola cyclone, and 500,000 people died during that event. So that's just a symbol kind of for the way that storms tear people apart and can possibly bring families back together too. So I highly recommend The Storm by Arif Anwar. Then we're gonna go to Florida. And of course, we all know from the internet that Florida has a lot of crazy and strange things that happen all the time. So this is Tropic of Stupid by Tim Dorsey, And it's a very irreverent, funny novel about a couple of guys. The main character is called, his name is Serge Storms, and he just loves Florida. He lives in Florida, but he likes to vacation there too. And he has taken this vacation snorkeling with his friend Coleman, and he's also on the hunt to find his family because he's taken a DNA test and they've told him that he's related to some people. One of whom may or may not be a serial killer. And also the police are after this serial killer, and they're trying to use this main character to find a way to the serial killer because there's this DNA connection there. So it's all about the crazy events that occur, and I'm sure you will love it. It's called Tropic of Stupid by Tim Dorsey. Now, we're going to travel to someplace much chillier, Norway. And it seems in this book, Northernmost by Peter Guy, that it's always snowing because they not only are in Norway, but they're also in Minnesota as well, because this follows a family, so it jumps back and forth in time again. That seems to be a really popular thing that a lot of these novels do, but it makes for very fascinating reading because you can cover a lot of periods of history and a lot of fascinating characters that are in people's families. So in Northernmost, in the 1890s, Einar Eide is attacked by a bear while he's out on a hunting trip in Norway. And he finally, through much adventure, makes it home, and he finds that his wife is having a funeral for him because everybody thinks he's dead. And it's about trying to repair that relationship with his wife, who has been certain that he was dead, and now he shows up. And also about Einar's descendants. One of his descendants is a woman named Greta Nansen, who ends up in Minnesota, and she takes a pilgrimage or a trip to Norway, to her ancestral homeland where Einar was from, to his little village, and to see what she can learn about her family. And so it jumps back and forth between the 1890s and more current day. And what she finds in her small town is like the rest of the story. So I'm pretty sure you're going to want to read Northernmost by Peter Guy. Next we go to Mexico. And if you like creeping Gothic horror and suspense, you will love Mexican Gothic. It's about a woman who's in the 1950s in Mexico, but she's from a wealthy family and they're from the city. Her father tells her that he wants her to go to this remote location to check on her cousin, who is an adult, but her parents are deceased. And her cousin has married an Englishman that has a large mansion just way out in the remote countryside in Mexico. And she has sent them a cryptic letter, rambling and almost incoherent, in which she says she's sure that her husband is trying to poison her. So Noemi goes to check on her cousin, and what she finds in this rambling, moldering, large mansion is creeping Gothic horror. There's also a little bit of romance involved. So I'm really sure you're going to like this. In this novel, not only the place setting, but the actual mansion itself becomes almost a character, kind of like in Rebecca de Mornier's, de Maurier's Rebecca, or like if you've read Tana French's The Likeness, there's kind of a rambling mansion in that just becomes a character of the novel. I highly recommend this. It's so good. So, Mexican Gothic by Silvia Moreno Garcia. And our last book today. You will want to read this one. I just finished it myself. It's called Red Island House, and it's by Andrea Lee. It is about a family who consists of an Italian businessman and his wife, who is a Black American scholar. And they have built this giant vacation dwelling on Madagascar, which is an island off the coast of Africa. And it's all vignettes about what goes on throughout the decades that they vacation in and stay in this Red Island house. So each chapter is kind of a standalone about the area, about the inhabitants, about the people that they have visiting them and working for them and living in surrounding areas, and it's full of fascinating characters. So it's not a continuous narrative. The chapters are more like a series of vignettes about different events in the life of this house and the people that live in and around it. But I highly recommend it. Yeah, I couldn't put it down. So if you want to travel to Madagascar, read Red Island House by Andrea Lee. And that is it for the Armchair Travels for Bookends, and we'll see you next month.